on the Texas A&M Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
We've missed you. It is wonderful to see everyone. It's the Aggie Football Hour.
You got to turn me on. There we go. Now I'm on.
He had a week
forgot
off.
to turn me on.
He
take a bye week, you get a big win, you take a bye week, and you come here, and they don't even turn your mic on for you. How about that?
This is where I normally tell you who's running the show, but I'm not going to do that in deference to Kevin. Alongside Mike Elko, I'm Andrew Monaco. It's the Aggie Football Hour. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. And, oh, baby, do we have a couple of questions courtesy of Capital Farm Credit coming up in just a little bit. With Coach Mike Elko, as we mentioned, coming off a bye week, and I think I say this every year, but just to reiterate it, bye week does not equal off week, correct?
Yeah, no, there's nothing about it.
Are you sometimes busier?
This is what happens. I feel like this happens all the time. Like, you go into the bye week and you try to do as much as you can to kind of cut back a little bit on the late nights, let the coaches get with their family. And then inevitably what happens is you feel like this week should be less. Mm-hmm. It never is. No. Never. Like you feel like, okay, we got all our work done last week. No, and then you get into this week and you kind of get right back to the grind. And so, we were able to refresh a little bit last week. We had some practices, obviously, but, you're not in until 10, 11 at night like you are in a normal game week, and you get the coaches home a little bit and go on the road, traveling, recruiting, and doing those things. And then we gave the staff off Saturday to just kind of be with their families and get a good family day, and then back at it Sunday. And then that turns it right back into another week where you got to go. And so it's been a good week and getting ready.
And obviously preparing for Auburn this week. Was last week almost like a continuation of camp, Mike? Or is it, okay, after 3 weeks, here's what we work on?
Yeah, probably like a combination of both. Like it's a camp mentality, and so we took the off week and we really went a lot of good on good work, a lot of practice against each other like you would do in camp, not necessarily like specifically trying to scheme up Auburn or any other specific opponent, but really just trying to improve. And then you've got a body of work that is 3 games, and so you kind of know where some of your holes are at this point now, and so you maybe focus on some of those areas, leveraging the football on defense, third downs on offense. Like you just kind of put a little bit more of an emphasis onto, what has bit you to this point. And, hopefully you come out of it and you made some improvements. And then the thing that we've challenged the guys with this week that I think is really critical is how important having a great week of practice this week is to get back to game speed. I think that's always the thing that you worry about. Rest is good. It makes you healthier. It makes you fresher, but you lose that momentum of game speed, and we have to start this game fast. We got to come out of the locker room really ready to go, and that's really going to be a critical part of Saturday. And so it's been a good week so far. Hopefully we finish it tomorrow.
Before the game against Notre Dame, you talked about during that week, the word was elevate. Is it elevate now for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think the challenge I laid to them was get hungry for success. Like, you put in so much work. You made this, I don't want to call it a statement when, me, I'm not really into that type of stuff. But we have this big win that everybody is pointing to as, okay, hey, this is kind of a big momentum shift for us. Now just get really, really starved for success. Understand how hard it's going to be to continue to do it. Understand how much work it's going to take. Understand that we've really accomplished nothing. I've used the term. I said this in the press conference. I said this to the guys about 20 times. Like, we have 0 SEC wins. 0. And so if at the end of the year we have 0 SEC wins, things aren't going to end well, right? And so we've really gotten nothing done yet that's in our main goals and main objectives. And so, we got a lot of work to do still.
I like something else you said on Monday was, I like how practice went. I like how this week went. We'll find out when we run out of the tunnel on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and again, like, I'm a football savant. Like, that's just kind of been my passion. So, like, outside of coaching, like, I watch football. Like, grew up watching football. I grew up throwing the ball to myself in the backyard. Like, I've been football. It's kind of been my life for so long. And so, like, when you really, like, dive into the game, every week is the same. Like, as much as the fans see 20 different outcomes because every game has a different score, like, it's really the same. Like, there's these critical moments, there's these critical plays. You make some, you don't make some. Hopefully you make more than the other team does, and that's what gets you the win. On some weeks you make a lot more than the other team and the score becomes large, but you're always a play or two away. Like, I referenced the Missouri game last year a lot with our guys. Like, there's a penalty flag that gets picked up. There's a touchdown that gets called back. And the next thing you know, it's 30-0, right? And that game could go so many different ways. And everyone in the fans and all the just see this big, massive score line. But the reality is that game came down to 2 plays. No different than, the Auburn game last year came down to 2 or 3. Like, that's just football. And so against Notre Dame, we made them, and that's great. And hopefully that gives us confidence to continue to make them. But, you're one Saturday away from not making them.
Right.
And so you've got to always maintain that focus.
It's interesting. You look back, it's not just the final play of Marcel hitting Nate. If you don't get a stop and Notre Dame kicks a field goal, guess what? That last drive doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
They have a bigger margin at that point. You've got to score and then get an onside kick, right? So it's kind of micro and macro, isn't it? For
sure. And obviously certain moments have bigger impact on the game. And we were able to put together the drive. And again, I think that's probably the most positive thing that came out of the Notre Dame game was that is now the 3rd time away from Kyle Field that our quarterback has done that. And when you start talking about having confidence in a kid when the game's on the line and he's got the football and he's got to go stand in front of that huddle, like, that's 3 times now and not a whole lot of road starts that he has taken the team right down the field to get us the lead. And, it worked out this time. Hopefully not just because it was 13 seconds. Hopefully we would have got the stop anyway. But, it worked out this way.
Is that part of what goes into it when a player has it being, as he said, I'm confident there because I'm confident in my preparation for that moment.
Yeah, and it's an it factor. Again, not to burst the balloon on anybody, but we probably worked 2-minute drills the same amount of time for the last 4 years. This kid gets into it and he's having a lot of success. Like, that's a little bit more on him and his moxie and his ability to elevate in those situations than it is just that we worked them. And he can say that, and that's what he should say, because that's what a good quarterback should say. But the reality of it is there's something about him in those moments, in those situations, that has really proven to be really good so far.
And his teammates follow.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. And I think you started this. At no point did we flinch, right? And that was a really cool part of that game. And again, that's something that we're starting to build too. And again, I see this in every game, but we got down at South Carolina. We came back, made it a game, didn't finish, right? Not the result you wanted, but there was some fight back. We got down big at Auburn. And there was some massive fight back, right? And then we got down again and fought back. And then we went to overtime and kept fighting and ultimately didn't make the play we needed to get the win, but there was an awful lot of grit shown in that game last year. And then you do the same thing in Notre Dame, and you go into that environment against a team that absolutely has to win that game. Is playing with everything they've got to win that game, and they block a punt for a touchdown, and we bust a coverage for a touchdown, but we don't flinch, and we just keep going and keep finding a way, and that is a really, really good skill set and a really, really good psychological disposition to have as a team. And so we've got to continue to do it, but those are the things that I think are really promising to me.
We are just getting started on the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Play the Texas Lottery today for your chance to win exciting prizes. And remember, luck happens to people like Gene, who keep a lookout for chances to win the Texas Lottery. Gene won Texas A&M prizes, and you could too. Texas Lottery supports Texas education and veterans. Scratch 'em tickets and gig 'em. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. More of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. He's Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest and register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a VIP tour of Reed Arena. You'll be recognized on the video board during the game. Register today, 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, proud partner, Texas A&M Athletics. The very first person to check in tonight on Facebook, Carol.
So I was So I told her not to. I was literally on the phone with her outside the door as I was walking in. So thank you, Mom, for checking in on Facebook. I said you can let this be your check-in. I'm on the phone with you. We're talking right now. Have a good night, and you don't have to sign in. But she did anyway.
Hey from Mom first, and it's already been hearted.
Yeah, sure.
That's the way it is. Las Cruces, New Mexico, Corpus, Thorndale, Lago Vista. Columbia, Missouri has checked in, saying glad the Aggies and Mizzou are hooked up for at least the next 4 years.
Yeah, Aggies got a big win over Mizzou tonight in volleyball. Another great opportunity for Coach Morrison to go out and do some special things. So.
Jamie was here last Wednesday. We had our very first Aggie volleyball hour as well. So
I tell him I follow. It's not like a close follow. I think I saw 2 points in the match tonight. Yeah, one when I was walking somewhere to go meet with somebody in the office, and then one when I walked in. So I think I saw 2 total points. So I'm not going to oversell my ability to watch, but I do pay attention to what's happening.
Gilmer, Belton, Flatonia. Corey Harper says, tell Coach not to come out flat after the bye.
Okay, Corey. Thanks.
Corey, you got it?
Phenomenal advice.
Idalou, Texas. That's Rin. Josie says, how did he get past the Scooby injury to lead to that win? And I would say 27 was really good, Damian Sanford.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about this, and you've heard this a lot being around our program. Like, there's a lot of really special things that have happened in my tenure here with guys being ready when their time was called. And I thought 2 in particular in that game. You know, obviously Damian's a kid who played a lot of football last year, you know, was kind of battling with some really talented players at the linebacker position and hadn't maybe gotten the reps or the role that maybe he wanted in the first 3 games, and kept practicing and kept doing the things he needed to do and kept getting ready. And then all of a sudden it's like the snap of a finger and bam, you're out there in a game we got to win, and he makes a ton of plays and helps us win a football game. And then the other guy that we singled out was Randy Bond, you know, and you know, Randy has had a really consistent climb back probably the last 4 weeks. And, you know, Jared gets a little bit of a groin injury coming out of the Utah State game, and so we go to Randy, and you know, he makes 2 huge field goals for us in the second half that are really, really critical. And again, that's another opportunity. And I point those things out, and I say this a lot, so I don't mean to be repetitive, but I think our fans need to hear it. You hear so much negativity about what has gotten created by the NIL era, and you have these kids who didn't quit, didn't redshirt, didn't walk away, just kept working, and were ready when the Aggies needed them, and both of them played a huge role in us winning that game.
Absolutely loved end of the half, the turnover on downs. The run by Le'Veon allowed you to almost add 3 more.
Yeah.
And Randy just missed. That just slid wide left. But
yeah,
that was excellent.
Yeah, and it was great by great by Lev, and that's a situation obviously we spend a lot of time on. We spend an awful lot of time on, like end of half situations, end of game situations, and not just like the standard ones. Some of the one-offs that can come up. We do every Wednesday. We call it a football intelligence video, where we watch kind of mishaps from the previous weekend, probably 5 or 6 plays every Wednesday of somebody not doing something at the end of the game right, or, you know, opportunities to maybe win a game that let slide, and just trying to build it. And, you know, and so Lev hits the run, and bam, he pops, you know, we kind of mark it on the sideline where we're trying to get him to, and he peeks it, hits that line, drops immediately. We call it the timeout, and you know, those things ultimately will play roles in us being successful.
I mean, to have that clock in his head, that play starts at 6 seconds, and you get 2 seconds left, so you have enough time to do all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of on the sideline are like marking. Like he knows to look to the right to kind of feel where we're at, and so he kind of knew what the time was and where he could get to and where we were, and it was great.
Update on Bryce.
Yeah, so we kind of announced this on social media because we thought it was important for people to know it. Just really happy that it's nothing major. You know, he's obviously got a head injury that's for sure something he's going to have to recover from. But, you know, given the hit, given the moment, given how it all looked on the field, just blessed that it's nothing major, and he'll recover and he'll live a great life and he'll play football again for us this year. Again, still a little bit early on the timetable on that, but just all things considered, it was awesome walking on the plane and seeing him sit in he had his seat in first class, and it was really cool. It was just good that it worked out that way. And thank you to everybody for the prayers and the well wishes, because that obviously goes a far way. That is hard to prepare for. Yeah. Is it not in the middle of a game? Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that one, they all matter, but I recruited Bryce. Yeah. When I was here as a defensive coordinator, and so his mom and dad are on the field, and his brother's on the field, and I've known those people for 6 years. And that's an eternity, but in football, that's an eternity. Yes, it is. And it's a devastating situation. And I think the one positive from our perspective was we felt pretty confident it wasn't massive at the moment. It's a little bit scarier when they're losing feeling and some of those things. And so there was a little bit of okay, I hope we're okay. But you never know until you know. And so it was great getting that word. And it was great seeing him on the play. Before going into Saturday against Auburn with that off week, Deuce Fatheree is closer to being available, is he not? Yeah. He's worked really, really hard. He's been really, really diligent. It's been good to get him back out practicing. He'll be ready to go Saturday. It's just that you talk about that flexibility along that offensive line is so valuable with the number of snaps and the level, each snap, the energy that you need, especially in the SEC, correct? Yeah, and this is a piece of it too. We're about to play 5 straight SEC games, and I don't know how many of those teams are ranked, but I'm sure it'll be 2 or 3 of them. And, we're going to need everybody. Yeah. This is an all-hands-on-deck league, and you saw that a little bit with the schedule review Tuesday. It's not getting any easier anytime soon. And so, this is an all-hands-on-deck league. And so, Deuce will play a massive role in this thing before it's all over. It's just great to get him back out there and get him practicing and getting him back up to, that's the other part that people forget. He's healthy, but he's got to actually get back up to game speed. And he hasn't had game speed for a while. Yeah. It's not just having the bye week. He's been out a little bit. Yeah, and so reps and work and practice work will get him going. It's great to get him back out there. I know he worked really, really hard. It's really, really hard when you see kids make the decision to come back to be part of your program for their last year, work extremely hard like he did. He was having a great camp, and then to go through something like this, you just hope that mentally they can withstand it all, and he did. He's been phenomenal, and he's worked tirelessly to get back, and so it's just great having him back out at practice. Does it help that offensive line is so tight that they can't wait to get him back as well? Yeah, for sure. And I think it's the locker room, and it's all of it, and we do a really, really intentional job of keeping injured guys around. They have to be at every meeting, and they have to still be everywhere. They have to check in for breakfast every morning, and none of that is to try to punish them. It's just to keep them around, right? One of the worst things that can happen to you in that situation is you're home, you're isolated, you're by yourself. That's when bad thoughts start getting into your brain. And I think just keeping them around the culture of the locker room helps, and that's the offensive line. It's everybody, and I just think it keeps them plugged in and keeps them engaged. Normally, we do it a little bit later in the show. We have The Bridge, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit. This week, I'm making it these next 2 questions when we come back. Okay. They're actually presented by Capital Farm Credit. Okay. That's what we'll get to when we return. This is the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The Aggie Football Hour is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit, together we're better. 2-part question. All right. Presented by Capital Farm Credit. All right, I previewed these questions, so I've had a little chance to think about this one. What about the state of Indiana makes great coaches throw a chair? All right, so I'm assuming we're not referencing Bobby Knight. I'm assuming we're referencing me on this one, so we'll just go to me. So here's the thing, right? In my defense, okay, no coach should have an iPad on the sideline and get to see in real time exactly what went wrong. You shouldn't be able to get that information that quickly. That information used to come to us on Sunday morning. We had 24 hours to calm down. 30 seconds after the touchdown is not the right time to see what went wrong on the play. And then I don't know who put the chair there, but the chair can't be in between you and the group of guys that you want to talk to about the play that you just watched on the iPad, right? And so I'm going to deflect a little bit of the blame on this one for a lot of different variables that were put into play that weren't at my disposal, per se.
Gotcha. So, between you and Armage, has Samsonite Chairs come across with any endorsement or NIL money?
They have not, but listen, if anybody's out there listening, we would love to endorse a chair. We would do it for Texas Aggies United. You can come down. You can form any NIL deal you want. We'll sign. We'll give you radio time, space time, whatever you need. And I think that'd be a great opportunity for us in our program. That's the world we now live in,
That's exactly
Andrew.
Right. That is 2025.
2025,
right,
baby. Coach throws a chair and tries to make money off of it.
I am thrilled. I'm thrilled that Pat put you in there with Bobby Knight. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Because he made it Coach Is.
Yeah. I have a long way. Just for all of the people tweeting out everything that I say on the radio, I am not in the class of Bobby Knight. He has accomplished more in one season than I have in my career so far. And so this is not me suggesting in any way, shape, or form that I've accomplished anything as a coach yet. Did you guys get that? Are the tweeters over there? Where are the tweeters? Thank you, guys.
I don't want you to answer this question about who was let go. But with all these coaching changes going on at the NCAA and kids in the portal, that's another change, is it not? Whether a coach goes. Now that 30-day window, you have to adjust to sometimes what else is happening around the college football landscape, do you not? Or you can't ignore it any longer.
So all of the unintended consequences that have come into college football are just, I don't know that people really get them. And so Derek Miller's here today. Is Alan around? Alan's usually here too. Alan's over there getting some food, probably well-deserved. But those guys work tirelessly. And so if you look at an NFL front office, right, an NFL front office has grades on every NFL player because you never know who's going to become a free agent, right? Now, that is 32 teams and about 56 guys, right? And so you've got this feel on who potentially could become available. Well, that now exists in college football, except that that's about 280 teams and about 120 guys a team, right? And so obviously not all of them need to get evaluated and scouted, but you need to have a constant working knowledge of who is out there, who is available, who you have to go after, who you've got to sign and recruit. And so those things are really, really critical. And Derek does a phenomenal job leading that team, and it's a large group, and they're at that tirelessly. And so it's never for us like, oh, this school let go their coach, let's go evaluate their roster. It's, hey, pull up the roster evaluation of that school because they let go of their coach. Like, that's already done. So as soon as that news breaks, we already know who potentially would be a kid that would fit what we're trying to do here. And you just have to live in that world. Right. That's the modern world of college football.
It's not just Oklahoma State or UCLA or Virginia Tech.
No, it's the country.
Yeah,
it's the country.
It reverberates.
And because it's the country, you have a working knowledge of everybody's roster. Like, you just have a working knowledge of everybody's roster. You have to.
The Bridge is next. This is where Mike goes out and meets everybody here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. When we come back, we will hear from the Aggies' Cassius Howell. That's next. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Thanks to the generosity of 12th Man Foundation donors, Aggie student-athletes have the resources to succeed at Texas A&M and beyond. Start your tradition of support today at 12thmanfoundation.com. It is time for the best thing I heard, part of the Bridge. You remember Cassius Howell had 3 consecutive sacks after that game. Told Will Johnson that he was in the flow. So when he sat down for the conversations, here's Cassius Howell on being in the flow.
Your mind and your body, less so becoming like 2 separate things, and it's just kind of like fusing into one. It's kind of hard to explain. It's going, it's like good things happen for me whenever I am thinking about stuff and I'm just going, kind of reacting like off of instinct. So that's just really what it is. Just kind of just reacting off your instincts and just letting your body, I guess, just do what it's supposed to do.
That is Cassius Howe, part of our Conversations podcast, sitting down with Cassius. That is on 12th Man TV, YouTube. You can find that Conversations. We also sat down with Jamarian Morrow. You can listen to that conversation with that freshman running back. Just fantastic. Very nice of them to create some time and talk. We'll have those every single week. When we come back to the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit, we'll start looking ahead. Saturday's matchup with Auburn. It's a 2:30 kick. It's a 1:30 pregame, and that's presented by Memorial Hermann. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Ag score a taste touchdown at your next tailgate with Hellmann's Real Mayonnaise, the official mayonnaise of Texas A&M Athletics. Do dip with Hellmann's and do no wrong. Texarkana and Cisco, Temple, Plano, Dickinson, Weatherford, Lubbock. We have someone who's checked in from Chicago, but they're really from Coastal Bend. They can't wait to get back to Texas. Byron, Illinois, has checked in as well. Colin Drews is producing the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit in our Learfield studios. And Kevin Menchow is the one who's hiding behind that wall over there. And Scott Clendenin came up to me and said, even before Bobby Knight in 1976, here's a photo of basketball coach Shelby Metcalf letting a chair fly.
Well, yeah. That's another one. So apparently it is something about it. So add that is into another reason why it happened. Yeah. That's not my fault. So now it's the state. Now chairs apparently fly in Indiana, which is another problem. So, yeah, this is all getting me off the hook.
Yeah. You know what I couldn't help but notice through all that? Not a single guy looked away. The eyes were locked the entire time.
So I somebody else commented that me, and I had two thoughts on that, right? One obviously is the positive, which is it's really cool that, you know, they're still responding and they're listening and they're hearing the message, and that's obviously really good. The second one that maybe was a little bit more concerning for me was they obviously had seen that before and had seen a reaction similar to that before, and we're just kind of like, yeah, here he goes again, but let's hear what he has to say, because somewhere in all of this is going to be the important parts that we're going to have to pick up. And so, yeah, that was probably the concerning part.
They want to make sure that if you ask, this is like parenting, isn't it? You want to make sure that your kids know the answer, because you know you're asking them the question.
Yeah.
Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Are you know? And, yep. And if they're not, then it just makes dads madder.
Yeah. No, we established that very early on. I think one of the really important things in this modern era, and this has nothing to do with NIL, this is just the kids nowadays a little bit and how they're different with social media and all of that, is it is critical to find ways to get them to hear you and intake the messages that you're giving them. And that's probably something for the last 6-7 years that I think has been drastically different, just from an education standpoint. And so, we do a lot of double checking to make sure they hear you, they're locked in, they know that they're responsible for taking in the messaging, because, and we're no different. It's society today. It's not kids today, but, there's so many things that stimulate the brain. You can sit somewhere and not pay attention. It happened to me the other day. Brandy walked in my office and said something to me. Apparently I answered, and 10 minutes later I had no recollection that she had even come in there, because I was just kind of locked into what I was locked into. And so, it's just important that you make sure they're retaining information, and it's been really good with our kids.
How much do you go back to the Notre Dame tape and say, this is what we did well, this is what we didn't do well? Was it too many penalties for you, especially in a road game, and can you correct that going forward? And then someone's asking about Des Ricks as well. His play, it just seems every single time he takes the field, and I'm talking about practice as well, that young man just gets better and better.
Yeah, I think every game's got problems, and obviously that's where you start from a correction standpoint. Some of them are visible. Certainly we can't have that many penalties. Penalties have been a big problem for us, really, for a long time, right? And that's something that continues to plague us, and we have to find ways to eliminate that and stop putting ourselves behind the chains because of self-inflicted problems. And so you certainly try to find different creative ways to deliver that messaging and try to get that stuff home. You're looking at plays, some of the obvious ones, some of the not so obvious ones that need to get fixed and improved and cleaned up for sure. And I think all of that stuff matters. And then through all of that, though, you're also pointing out the plays that played a role in winning you the game, right? And you don't want everything to just be, here's what we did wrong, here's what we did wrong, here's what we did wrong. Although as the head coach, I tend to maybe focus a little bit more in that regard. But you want to make sure that you're building kids up too. And I think Dez is a credit to that. I think Dez, we had some really open, honest conversations with Dez out of last year. Obviously, he's a kid with a tremendous amount of talent, a tremendous amount of pride in his performance, and really, really took the end of last year personal, right? And not that anything was his fault or anything like that, but he knew his standard dropped as the year went on. And, here's some of the things we think you can do to help you elevate, play more consistent. We've always believed in him, obviously, but to get yourself to the level you want to get at, here's some things. And to the kid's credit, he's handled all of that really well. And so, I always say this, like, you see it behind the scenes. So you see how he's practicing, you see how he's working, you see how he's taking care of himself on a day in, day out basis. You see the maturation in the kid, and you hope that it plays out on the field, because that will bring confidence and that will bring continued, affirmation of that type of behavior. And so then he goes out and he plays some really good games, and then that kind of really starts to snowball for him, and that's exciting. It's been exciting to see.
And you always talk about, I shouldn't say that, you talk about individual players, but you're very big on the rooms, and that secondary room is another very tight group. Like, you listen to Willie talk about Desrex, or Des talk about Will, or talk about Tyreek, or any of them. Like, that is a tight-knit group, is it not?
Yeah, and I think, and we talk about it a lot because it's so critical. Amongst everything in the game of football, you're throwing your body around, you're putting yourself through ungodly things, you're asking yourself and your body to do things that are abnormal. You are fighting so much of human nature to be an elite anything, but specifically to be an elite football player, with the physical part of it, the mental part of it, everything that goes into it. And so the way you get through it is the tight group. You're in a dark places sometimes in January and February in fall camp. It's not fun. None of that is any fun. None of that would ever register on hey, that's what I really want to do. I want to push that wooden sled across the field until my legs give out. That's just not what human nature is about. And so you get through it because of the brotherhood and the camaraderie and the culture in those individual rooms, that I'm not just doing this for me, I'm doing this for my family at home, I'm doing this for all of the people who sacrificed to help me get here, and I'm doing it for this brotherhood that's been formed by the name on the front of my jersey. And that's what drives you when you need that motivation to keep going and keep pushing through some of those really challenging things.
The trust is really built off the field as opposed to when you're on the field with the other 10 guys.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And again, what everybody sees is Saturday, right? And Saturday will forever come down to a culmination of a handful of plays. But there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that we're privy to that, give us confidence about where Texas A&M football is going, and not maybe necessarily a statement that we're there or we've arrived or anything like that, but there are so many things that are trending in a positive upward trajectory to be excited about.
Auburn Saturday, 2:30 kick, 1:30 with our pregame show. Memorial Hermann presents that. We'll talk about those Tigers when we come back. It's the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. It's Aggie Football from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call on the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. Let's set up your Saturday, shall we? 2:30 is the Aggies and the Auburn Tigers. 1:30 our Memorial Hermann pregame show. We're going to talk about those Auburn Tigers because Andrew is running out of time, and I have to talk about the Tigers. So we're going to take a break, come back, talk about the Aggies. Ranked number 9, Auburn Tigers, Saturday, 2:30. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie Football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or click on Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. That's where we are as we wrap up this edition of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Auburn's not ranked, but they might as well be. I don't know how you look at that tape and say they're not a top 25 team. They have an SEC game under their belt at Oklahoma last week, 24-17. Sooners win that one. Just a fascinating matchup. Mike, when I think about Auburn, I think about a punishing running back, a quarterback that can get out and hurt you, speed on the outside, and a defense that you're going to feel on Monday because they're going to hit you. That's usually been the measure of Auburn football year in and year out, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think unbelievably talented. And you know, I think this is what we try to deliver from a messaging standpoint about this conference is the NFL tells you how talented these teams are every single year, right? And we beat each other up, and maybe our records always aren't 10-2, 11-1 like some of the other leagues and some of the other opportunities that people have. But you don't play an SEC game and not feel it ever. Yeah. And that's just the nature of playing in this league. And so an extremely talented team, an extremely well-coached team, certainly going to be in here hungry. That's the other – I mentioned this a little bit on Monday in the press conference, but human psychology is back against the wall. These guys are going to come out fighting. And so they're going to give us everything they got on Saturday, and that's going to be a lot. And we're going to have to come out and play really, really well to have a chance to be successful.
Did not have Le'Veon last year. Did not have Tyreek Chappelle on the back end last year. They will be available for you. Same thing with Reuben Owens. So you have that experience. Marcel has played against Auburn. Jackson Arnold has not played against Texas A&M. I think there's a bunch of intriguing, and yet I think I ask you every week, it still comes down to a line of scrimmage game.
It's a line of scrimmage game. It's going to come down to turnovers. It's going to come down to playing clean football. Those are all the coaching cliches, but those are the things that hold up time and time again. And again, we're just excited for the opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing. When you start winning games like we did, you create opportunities for yourself to play meaningful games. And the reason why we do all of this is to ultimately put ourselves in position to play meaningful games. And, unfortunately, you can't guarantee you're going to win them all.
Right.
But this is what it's all about,
yeah.
Right? It's all about SEC opener, being a top 10 team, having a lot at stake, and going out and playing meaningful games in front of, what it'll be, 109,000 of our closest friends again, like it always is in Kyle Field, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Someone asked Terry Bussey if there a measure of revenge against Saturday, and Terry said every Saturday is a revenge game.
Yeah,
right?
I just think you invest so much into this thing, and it is, and these guys have gotten beaten around a lot, and the guys who have been in this program for a lot of years, they wear a lot of scars, and it's great to see them pulling themselves out of it and starting to fight back and starting to answer some of these. And this one's obviously got a little bit of special meaning from last year and all of that, but there's also a lot at stake. And the nice thing about where we are as a program, and we've been this way since I've been here, and hopefully we continue this way, the game has served as motivation every single Saturday for us. Every Saturday we've gone out, we've played a meaningful game. We haven't yet to play a non-meaningful Saturday football game since I've been the head coach at Texas A&M. And so, again, that doesn't mean you win them all,
right?
But that's where you want to be.
No exception. Beat the hell out of Auburn on Saturday, Coach.
That'll be a lot of fun. So appreciate y'all coming out. Appreciate your support. And let's turn Kyle Field up Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to need your support for sure.
2:30
Thank you to my
Saturday.
daughter and her friend Reese for coming out tonight and turning it up here in Rudy's Barbecue.
Absolutely. Mike, we'll see you Saturday, 2:30. Aggies and the Auburn Tigers, 1:30 with our Memorial Herman pregame show. You will hear more from Cassius Howe. You will hear from Torian York and the Aggies taking on the Auburn Tigers in the SEC opener. For Kevin Menchow, for Colin Drews, for Tony O'Neill, I'm Andrew Monaco. And again, thank you to everyone here. Rudy's 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. It's the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We thank you for joining us. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.
You've been listening to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Texas A&M Sports Network.